Okay, Under, Martin here, and welcome again to our channel. In this video, I'm going to take you all on a trip down memory lane, and I'm going to tell you all about my life in Mexico. I'm going to talk to you about my reasons for coming here, what it was like to experience a new and vibrant culture, how I came here with pretty much nothing and gained something amazing, and I also have some really big news for you. So if you're here just to hear the news, then skip right ahead to this point. Otherwise, sit back, relax, and I'll tell you a little story. So, like all good stories, we need to go back to the beginning. I was born, raised, and educated. I lived and worked pretty much my whole life in Loughborough, which is near Leicester. It's a small university slash market town right in the heart of England. While I lived there, I moved from job to job, never really found my footing or what I really wanted to do in life. One thing I did love though was the Army Cadet Force. And for any of you not watching from the UK, the ACF, the Army Cadet Force, is a youth organisation that's basically funded by the British Army. And that gives the opportunity for young people to experience a military style training. And I was an instructor in the ACF for almost 9 years. And that's basically where I found my love of teaching. And I realised that, hang on, this is what I want to do as a career, not just a hobby. However, finding a teaching career in the UK for me was going to be pretty impossible in the near future anyway. So what did I do? I looked beyond England, and I found that my easiest and quickest way to become a teacher was to travel to another country and teach English. My English is pretty good. It was pretty good. It's hopefully better now. So I took a TEFL course in Nottingham by the TEFL Academy, and later online, and just within 2 weeks I had my certificate. I really knuckled down and did the course, and boom, that was it. I was now a certified English teacher. Now, the biggest question was where to go. Asia or Europe, they seem the most common places, but I had a little trick up my sleeve. 4 years previous, I had done a volunteering spell at a rainforest eco lodge in Costa Rica. So I decided I would return and use it as a base of operations for launching my teaching career. And at the same time, have the peace and quiet of the rainforest. And also my friends there that I could practice my English skills, my English teaching skills on. I was actually in Costa Rica for about 6 months, and it was an amazing experience, and I would love to talk about it, but that would make this video way too long. So I will do another video on Costa Rica later on, so it's something for you guys to look forward to. Anyway, while I was in Costa Rica, I was offered a job in Mexico, in a town called Guaymas. I had never ever heard of Guaymas before. I had no idea where it was in Mexico or what it would be like. So obviously I took the job. And here we are 3 years later. Here I am. So let's have a little talk about those 3 years. Mexico. What is the first question that everyone asks me? Why did you choose Mexico? Well, it chose me, to be honest. And I'll be honest, it was never really a destination that I had in mind when I set out to be an English teacher. I hadn't done any research into living there, what it was like. The only real image I had of Mexico was from your typical movies, Antonio Banderas running around with guns blazing in a little village, and a few friends that have been to Cancun and told me what it was like there. I've always been interested in the Aztec and the Mayan culture and history, and I've really built a love for the Latin or Latino culture. And also I have had some basic Spanish experience, and I could speak a little bit Spanish. So yeah, that the opportunity came and I grasped it with both hands, and the rest is history. So let's talk about Guaymas, the town I've been living in for 3 years. Guaymas is a small port city. You can't really call it a city, a town, okay? And that's in Sonora. Sonora is the second largest state in Mexico, and it's in the northwest. And it boasts a beautiful coastline on the Sea of Cortez, and it also shares a large border with the USA. Um, I hadn't heard much about Sonora before, but I knew it was mainly a desert state. Okay, and wow, was I right. I remember my arrival in Sonora, and I landed in Hermosillo, which is the capital city. As I got off the plane, I was hit with a wall of fire, and that's no exaggeration. The city is often the hottest place on earth. Last July, it hit 53 degrees Celsius here in the shade, not in the sun, in the shade. And that's enough to melt your shoes to the pavement. Luckily, Guaymas is a little bit cooler because of the coastline, but even here it can hit 44, 45 degrees on the hottest days. But the humidity in Guaymas is the biggest killer. So yeah, moving here in July was not my best move, but at least I got that experience out the way quickly. So that's the climate here. Sunny with a chance of sun, basically. You'll probably get about 5 days of rain during the hurricane season, and it can get a bit chilly in January for a couple of weeks. However, yeah, pretty warm. Then again, in the east of Sonora, in the Sierra, they have a lot more rain there. It's a lot cooler, and they even have snow. Yeah, snow in Mexico, believe it or not. What that actually means is the Sonora has an amazing landscape. It's absolutely beautiful. It's a desert paradise. So you have green desert with all kinds of cacti and plant life. You have amazing hills and mountainsides that create a very picturesque backdrop. The most famous hill here in Guaymas is Tetacawi, and you can actually check out our previous video where me and Patty actually climbed up to the top of Tetacawi, and it will give you a good idea of what the landscape is like here in Guaymas. And then you have the beaches, of course. Most of the beaches are actually in San Carlos, which is a smaller town just about 10 kilometers outside of Guaymas. There are a lot of US expats live, and there's a lot of tourism there as well. And finally, there's the canyons, my favorite places. So if you drive or walk a few miles into the desert, you will come across canyons. And these canyons have natural springs that just pop up out of nowhere. And they create tropical microclimates right there in the middle of the desert. And we love to take hikes there on our days off. So that's Guaymas, more or less. Now let's talk about the job. I started work at Colegio Navarrete, which is a private college here in Guaymas. I started out teaching prepa, which is basically high school, but later I also taught secondary school. The school and the kids are absolutely amazing. I've made some brilliant memories over the last 3 years there, and I'll never forget it. It's also at the school that I met some of my lifelong friends, Monique being one. Monique's from London. She came to Mexico actually the same year as me, and she works at the same school. And she's actually still here today. She has a boyfriend, a Mexican, who's from Hermosillo, and his name's Nestor. An amazing experience was when Laura and Jen, my friends that I actually met on my TEFL course, came here for half a year. And we stayed in touch throughout that time, and I managed to find them a job in the same school. Then there's Nat, of course. Natalie is British, but actually owns a horse riding business in San Carlos, and she's like a big sister to us all. I can't leave out Melanie and Brian. They've been amazing friends. Ever since the first week here, I met them. I actually taught their son, Easton, in school, and he's now trained to be a Marine in the US Army, so it's pretty cool. I've made loads of friends. We've made loads of friends along an amazing journey. I feel really bad for leaving out so many names, but I want them all to know that how valuable their friendship is to us, and they've been absolutely amazing. So yeah, now I'd love to tell you all about the Mexican culture. But there's so much to talk about. So again, will be here forever. I'm going to make it brief. So, Mexican culture is arguably the most diverse in the world. I've never seen so many examples of culture and traditions in just one country. And for saying that Mexico is quite a young country, it's pretty amazing how much culture they've built up. I think the first part of their culture I need to address is the food. Now, I thought I'd eaten Mexican food before I came here in England, but that's a load of bull. In fact, Mexican food in England is more of a Tex-Mex cuisine, the dishes that are created in the US. So they're not Mexican at all. Then there's the fact that there's not really any way to describe Mexican food because the cuisine changes quite drastically from state to state. And even dishes with the same name in one state can taste completely different in the other state. It's crazy. So I think it's easier to talk about not Mexican food, but Sonoran food. Sonora is famous for its beef. They have huge ranches here with thousands of cows, and they are prize-winning cows. And I would argue that the quality of the beef is actually one of the best in the world. And it shows through here. In fact, the most famous dish in Sonora is carne asada, or basically barbecued beef. It's quite simple. You take some cuts of beef, or steak if you like, and barbecue it. You chop it up, and you serve it in a taco with the salsa of your choosing, guacamole, whatever you want, and that's it. Sounds really simple, but it's absolutely amazing. And it's impossible to recreate the same flavor anywhere else. It has to be here in Sonora, and I can't explain why. That just is. Sonorans actually usually get together as friends or family on like a Sunday or maybe a Saturday for a carne asada. So they actually created a party around the food, and they call the party a carne asada, a bit like we call it. Let's have a barbecue. Let's have a party. So yeah, that's the most famous. Sonora is also famous for seafood. I didn't like seafood before I came here, but it's so fresh and so delicious, especially the shrimp. Guaymas is actually a shrimp port, a very famous shrimp port, prawns. Okay, and you can guarantee that you are eating fresh. And the dishes are endless. Shrimp tacos, aguachiles, ceviche, the list goes on. So if you're a seafood fan, you will absolutely love it here. Then there's some more national foods. Tamales, for example. These are like served in corn husks that have been stuffed inside with a soft like cornbread. And then inside that, then they put meat and veg to add to the flavor. You can put whatever you want in there, but they're really, really amazing. Then there's a Mexican candy. I love Mexican candy. Basically, it's your traditional candy, sweet, but they pack it with chili or tamarindo. Yeah, don't worry. My first reaction was the same, but the taste really grows on you, and actually it becomes very addicted. I'm addicted to a lot of Mexican candy, which is not a good thing. So, my God, the list of food goes on. You've got the Mexican or Sonoran hot dogs. Whoever thought that Sonora would have the best hot dogs in the world? I didn't think that, but they do. There's so many others. So I'm going to leave them out. If you want to have a look at more Mexican food, real traditional Mexican food, feel free. But I'm getting hungry. It's not just food that's based on region, but pretty much everything else. Music and dance, for example, is extremely divided. If you go to the south of Mexico, you will find that they listen to a lot and dance to a lot of salsa, bachata, cumbia, and that sort of music, your traditional Latino music. Whereas here in the north, they're still common. People still listen to them and still dance, but they are hugely overshadowed by what's called norteña or banda music. And this kind of music originated right here in the north, and it's a perfect fit for the ranchero or cowboy way of life here. They also listen to cumbias, but they dance very different, and the cumbia sounds different as well. Every Sonoran, every person here seems to know how to dance. and they know how to dance banda style. It's amazing. You watch anyone and they will know how to dance. It's crazy. And if you're invited to a fiesta, you'll be sure to see everyone getting out of their seat for a dance. And that's also a reflection on the traditional clothing of each region. In southern Mexico, Mexicans can be seen wearing very traditional clothing based upon like Aztecan style, whereas in the north, it's completely different. You have more of a cowboy culture due to its rich rancho history. Men and women can often be seen in jeans, a checkered shirt, high boots, cowboy boots, and a cowboy hat. So almost like the typical Western cowboys of the US. They've actually the US adopted the style from northern Mexico. There you go. I didn't know that either until now. That's the thing I love about Mexico. Well, Sonora at least. And actually, another thing I love is their love for rock music. I don't know if that's the whole of Mexico, but here in Sonora, they love rock. And we often go to a rock bar, and there's a local band called Retro, and they cover all of the greatest hits. You know, Queen, Guns N' Roses, Beatles, you name it. Patty's actually a massive Beatles fan. Maybe that's why she married a Brit. I don't know. Maybe. So, you see what I mean by diverse. Mexico is so diverse. I think the only one thing you can be sure that every Mexican shares is their love for a celebration. Any excuse for a party, and they are up for it. And I'm not talking about lightheartedly either. There's many national holidays and celebrations throughout the year here in Mexico, and each has its own theme and way of celebrating. The most noticeable, and the only one I'm really going to speak about, is that has influenced cultures outside of Mexico, is the Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos. And this is a very special holiday where Mexicans actually celebrate the afterlife, their dearly departed friends and family who have gone into the afterlife. And what they do is they get together as a family, they celebrate their lives, and they make offerings of food or drink to the dead, so the people in the afterlife can celebrate as well. It's a tradition that a lot of people find a bit strange, especially when you first see it. But if you experience it for yourself, you'll just see how rich and vibrant that part of their culture really is. And it's very important to their traditions. Like I said, there's many other national holidays, and I could talk about Semana Santa, the Posada, but they all share a very similar concept. Eat, drink, and enjoy time with friends and family. So, that's Mexico, or Sonora to be exact. Now, I want to get back to something amazing that happened to me while I was in Mexico. After being in Mexico for around a year, and having some great adventures and meeting new friends, I happened to meet the woman of my dreams. Patty, a beautiful Mexican woman, caught my eye one day, and I had to go and talk to her. Now, my Spanish at this time was really terrible, so there was no cheesy chat-up lines, I couldn't tell her all about my life a lot. The moment was very brief, but I managed to get her name and her number, and I found out that she was from Hermosillo. That was it. And after a few weeks of speaking over WhatsApp, and thanks to the age of Google Translate, we agreed to meet again and spend a bit more time getting to know each other. And that was it. Before we knew it, we were dating quite frequently. I was the happiest man alive, an absolute beautiful woman. We would actually switch weekends, so she would come here to Guaymas, and then I would go to Hermosillo, and things got pretty serious pretty quickly as well. I quickly became part of her awesome family. They opened the doors for me completely. I've had some absolutely amazing times getting to know them all and getting to know the real Sonoran culture. To actually be part of a Mexican family is the best way to really experience Mexico. Now, my parents-in-law have been amazing, and they've treated me like a son, and I really couldn't ask for a better family-in-law. I love them all to pieces, and they know that. Also, her friends were very warming to me and quickly became my friends too, which is really amazing. So, after about 8 months together, I decided that I would take her with me for Christmas back in England to meet the family and for her to experience England as I know it. And it was actually there on Abbey Road, none other than Abbey Road in London, that I decided, I want Patty to be my wife. Um, so I got down on one knee, and yeah, the rest is history. And luckily, she said yes. So after that amazing experience, and we returned back to Mexico. And a few months later, my mum came to visit Mexico, and she got to experience all the amazing places that Sonora had to offer, and of course, meet Patty's family too. Then a few more months passed, a few months of very stressful planning. In November, it was the big day. My mum came back to Mexico along with some other members of my family. My auntie Helen, Uncle Kevin made the trip. My cousin Yannicka. And even some of Kevin's family came that I've not seen for like 20 years. It was amazing. So we got married in Hermosillo in the cathedral. It was an absolute perfect day, and the bride obviously was very stunning. And now, yeah, I'm a happily married man to the most beautiful woman in Mexico, and I'm part of an amazing Mexican family who have welcomed me with open arms. I even had some friends that came to visit all the way from China, and they were there for us. And if you would like to take a snippet of our wedding, there is a video on the channel, and it will give you a good idea of what our wedding was like, what a Sonoran wedding is like. So, that's it. That's my life in Mexico. I'm very happy. We are very happy together, and I love living in Mexico and in Guaymas. It's been an amazing experience. I've even had the honor to become a godfather to Patty's little nephew, well, my little nephew now, Maximo, who was born just before the wedding. And honestly, life is good. However, that's where we have some really big news for you all. We're moving to China! We're going to adopt some pandas as well while we're there. No, I'm only joking. I'm going to keep this hat on for the rest of this because it's pretty cool. So, let me explain. After our amazing wedding, we were left with a bit of a dilemma. Should we stay in Mexico and live here for the time being, or should we start to plan to go somewhere else? We both love Mexico. Sometimes I feel like I love Mexico more than Patty. But unfortunately, our financial situation is not ideal. The economy here is not in the best shape right now. And it was just at that moment, straight after the wedding, we were offered an amazing opportunity. And actually, it was by Jen and Laura, our friends that I told you about earlier. They run a teaching recruitment agency in China. And they offered us an amazing opportunity, an amazing teaching package for both of us. And yeah, we were really impressed with what they had to offer. Obviously, there's lots of pros and lots of cons about leaving Mexico. But in January, we accepted, and we're on our way. And the crazy thing is, it's happening soon. The position is in a city called Ningbo. It's a port city just south of Shanghai. I don't know what it is about port cities, but I seem to be attracted to them. And we fly on the 6th of March, really, really soon. We've had an absolute whirlwind of a time getting organised. It's been weeks, not months, but weeks. We even had to travel all the way to Tijuana last week to apply for our visas, which was a nightmare and a challenge in itself. So that's it. We are set to go, and we have to say goodbye, hasta luego, a Mexico. We have had some amazing times here. I met my wife here, but now it's time to move on. We are very excited, but we are also very nervous by such a big move. Patty more than me. I've done traveling. I've moved to a new country and lived in a new country. But for Patty, this is her first time. So she's moving away from her family and her friends just for the first time. But we're sure that what awaits us over there is an amazing adventure in a new country and a brand new culture, and we cannot wait to experience it. And that's the main reason for this channel, really. What we want to do is we want to share with you our transition, our travels in a strange new land. We would like to take you with us on our adventures and show you all the amazing things that we see. But what we also want to be doing is being informative, and we want to help you guys to understand China. We want to offer advice and information to anyone looking at moving or just traveling to China, or who's just generally interested. We want to do the reverse of a lot of channels. So rather than us just giving you information, we want you to tell us what you want to know. So leave us some questions, any questions you have about China, about living, about the culture, about anything, and we will try our hardest to answer them for you when and where we can. Okay, and it doesn't matter whether you're from England or eres de Mexico. That's why we're Spanglish. We can speak and we can talk to you guys in English and Spanish. And we'll try and upload as many videos as we can throughout the weeks and the months. And the next video you will see will be in China, which is pretty amazing. We hope you join us along the way. Please leave a like, subscribe. You know the drill. We want to get the word out to as many people as possible. We want to help as many people as possible to get informed. We'll be really grateful. So we will see you on the other side. So goodbye for now from me.
Adiós. Nos vemos en China.
Bye bye.